going to try and do this in 18 minutes. So buckle in. So my first question is, does anybody know something significant that happened in 2005 in the United States? Maybe if you're from the South. Katrina, right. Was anybody involved in that? Lived in New Orleans? No. Huh? So yeah, Hurricane Katrina happened. And if you look at Hurricane Katrina, almost 2,000 people died. 80% of the city was flooded. And in 2010, they were still cleaning up the grid. That's pretty significant, right? At all levels, it's considered a failure. Local level, the state level, and then the federal level. So FEMA, the local government, the state governments, they all got together and they learned a lot of lessons from that. And this year, we had a little storm in Florida. You may have heard of it, Hurricane Matthew. There was a lot of jokes that came my way because of that, my name. So Hurricane Matthew was a completely different experience. Living in Florida, we had tons of warning. We were told to evacuate. We were a lot of pre-staging. State of emergency was declared ahead of time. So the best story I can tell is right after Hurricane Matthew, I had to go to Daytona, and it was bike week that week. So it was really odd for me because all I saw was Florida Power and Light trucks and motorcycles. So, I mean, seriously, it was the strangest thing. There was nothing else on the road but motorcycles and Florida Power and Light trucks. So the response was completely different. And when we think about complexity, there we go, thank you. When we think about complexity, one of the reasons that we started this project is we teach complexity in our classes. And we wanted to take what we were teaching in the classroom and we wanted to apply it to organizations. And we wanted organizations to right away be able to make an impact in the organization from what they learned. And this was really the first step. So what is complex adaptive leadership? Sometimes you'll hear it in the literature, complex leadership theory, complex adaptive leadership. There's a bunch of different names, complexity theory. But basically, what is it? So it goes beyond this notion of a heroic leader, right? So it's not like the great band theory. It's everybody in the organization is working together for a common good, to be adaptable. So one of the things that is in the literature is that it's not about controlling the future, but it's about fostering these interactions. It's a very bottoms-up approach to leadership as well in the literature. So the leader's not pushing down necessarily, but there's a groundswelling of these interactions between these different groups, and it's pushing up. And the organization is able to adapt quickly to any change that's needed. So there's different units of analysis. There's the follower level, the leader, the team's organization, and the environment. And again, we started at the organizational level. There's a couple reasons for that. One reason for that was because there wasn't a lot of literature in the organizational level compared to the leader level. And then the other reason is, again, we wanted to make an impact in organizations immediately. So some of the literature and articles that informed our assessment, and not like transformational leadership, there's not that much out there. So Olbein, Marion, Hannah, who actually was kind enough to talk to the three of us when we first started this, and there are some others, Bolio, Nick Oblinsky wrote a book, and we've been involved with it in our program. And those are really the authors that informed our study. And with that, Stephen's going to talk about.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. I've been very appreciative to be on this research study with these two. I've spent the last 6-7 years studying crisis leadership and leadership during the Great Recession of 2008 and the behaviors and assumptions that help leaders make it through and help the organizations make it through the Great Recession successfully. And what resonates with me about complex adaptive leadership is how many of these concepts, how many of these things that we found in the literature link back to those leaders that were able to make it through and sustain that recession. Like Matt said, these concepts come out of the literature of Marion Olbein and Hannah. I want to on just a few. We don't have time to go over all of them, but I want to flesh out a few of them as I've seen them kind of show up in my studies. The first one, communication, I saw show up as extremely vital. This is communication across the organizational system, across the environment, the immediate environment that the organization is in. So, for example, during the crisis, communication channels were opened up with the media, with the government. Dialogue sessions were set up with employees. Contextual and emotional intelligence. I had a leader draw this up. That's why I kind of went off script and I wasn't planning on doing this, but he drew this up and I thought it was a beautiful way of looking at it. But he talked about how he saw leadership, and this is obviously nothing new to all of you, but he saw leadership as this formula of the leader, the follower, and the context. And he talked about emotional intelligence and contextual intelligence, and how a leader would be emotionally intelligent to know whether this context fit this leadership style. So if he knew that he was not strong in a certain leadership style for this context, he would get behind a follower and encourage a follower to become a leader in that context. So he would switch places with that follower. That's what we mean by both contextually intelligent and emotionally intelligent. You saw a lot of that in the changing environment during the recession. Systems thinking, that's another one that I think is vital and important, especially in my research. This idea of open systems. We're not a closed system anymore. I remember one of the leaders saying, our organization is not a closed system. Our economic system is not a closed system anymore. Our globe is just one big open system. And he talked about how when he thinks about the globe, he thinks about the United States in the front, and then everything else around is kind of egotistical. But if you look at the opposite side of it, India. He said you think of India and the pathways of trade, kind of on the dark side of the moon, if you will, that go down to the Middle East, that go to Africa, that don't directly impact your organization per se, but do indirectly impact the work that he was doing in his organization. He said he tried to be very aware of these different systems and changes in the whole global economy environment, and how it may have a ripple effect across the system and eventually hit them. Relational leadership, that's the last one I'll flesh out for time purposes. There was one leader that during the crisis moved his office as the president of a large bank. He moved his office down into where the tellers were. He wanted to be visible and accessible, and not only with the employees, but during that time there was a line out the door of people making runs on the bank, and he wanted to make sure that he was there saying, hey, we knew this was coming, we're ready for this, we're set up. And he had a very relational style to his leadership. So those are just a few of the concepts that are coming out of the literature that we are finding are significant to complex adaptive leadership that we would like to study. And with that, I'll turn it over to Daryl, who will kind of take us into the assessment tool that we're creating.
Thank you. So I finished my doctoral work in 2008, and what I did for my study was sort of a quantitative analysis. I ended up doing a factor analysis, and anytime I do work with colleagues, I'm always kind of saying, hey, is there any kind of way we can do a factor analysis? Because I've done that before and I actually know how to do it. and I'm the old guy on this team, and as we started talking about, what is it that we want to do with our research, I said, well, I use the MLQ as one of the things that I did with my study. In my factor analysis, I compared it to a couple of different things. And I said, gosh, I would love to develop an assessment that we could take out and use in organizations so that we can all become rich, so that we can support Stephen's dress habit and all that kind of stuff. Right. So that it kind of drove us to a quantitative study, and we decided that we would just comb the literature, find out as much as we could about complexity, how complexity informs leadership, so complex adaptive leadership, and then kind of regurgitate what we learned from the literature into a questionnaire. And so when you do a factor analysis, there's two types. There's an exploratory factor analysis and a confirmatory factor analysis. Exploratory means, well, you're not exactly sure what you're going to find. And confirmatory means you think you know what you're going to find, so you're going to do the study and then apply the confirmatory to make sure that you got it right. So we figured we're going to do the exploratory analysis because this was all kind of new to us. So that's what we did. We developed a survey. We piloted with a small group that Matt does some consulting with. Let's see, in terms of the numbers, for our first survey that we sent out, we had 27 people that we sent it to, so 19 actually took it, about 70% response rate. And there were a couple of problems with what we did, so we revised it. We did another survey, we sent that one out. And on that one we had 40 people we sent it to, 25 responded for a 62.5% response rate. So Matt, can you open up just whatever version you want to? Okay. So we were going to show you the survey just so you can get an idea of it, but we're not going to do that. Moving on.
But I will say that if you would like to see the survey, we just grab our card and we can send it to you.
And I have a couple of paper versions here, if anybody wants to look at it at the end. So one question, leaders foster the ability to exchange ideas, information, and knowledge. And this is tied to the idea, one of the ideas that Stephen was talking about earlier, about communicating across boundaries within an organization. For this particular, I'm just showing you a little bit of kind of what the data came up with. So 50% within one organization thought that they strongly agreed with this idea of leaders fostering information exchange across boundaries. But you can see that a quarter of the people who took it did not agree with that. So anyway, that's just an example of one of the questions. Oh, my love, factor analysis. So this is a rotated component matrix from the factor analysis. How many people here have done factor analysis before? Awesome. Oh, I love this. So this actually, so we cut out anything that has a correlation below 0.5 on this particular chart. And if you were to look at this, you'd probably say, hey, that's not too bad. So we broke off an eigenvalue of 1 for anybody who cares about that. And we came up here with 10 factors from our survey. But we noticed that there's a couple of these areas here where you have some cross-correlation. And so we thought, we could do a little bit better. Stephen was getting his beauty sleep, and Matt and I went and we reviewed. Thank you. Appreciate that. We revised our survey. Matt and I took it upon ourselves to do this. We revised our survey. We took out about 11 questions, and we kind of cleaned up some of the words that might be kind of confusing to people. We especially concentrated on some of these questions where there were cross correlations. And we thought that was pretty good. Actually, let me just, let's see. So one of the things that we learned from this is that with our only 27 people that we had sent it out to, 19 people responded, we weren't really sure that these were valid results. It was maybe too small a sample for a pilot. So this is the result of our second factor analysis from the second survey. So we broke our survey is basically what Matt and I did. So this first factor, so now we have 7 factors, which is kind of what we really wanted to end up with, because I think all really good surveys have 7 themes that kind of cross them. So we have 7 themes, and that's really good. But we have one theme that's very dominant, which means that our questions all kind of mean the same thing as people take the test. So basically what this is telling us is that if a person is answering a question on communication, for instance, well, they probably answered that question very similar to how they answered a question on collaboration, or how they answered a question on any other element of complex adaptive leadership. So basically, we apologize to Stephen for breaking the survey. We decided that we needed to go back to the drawing board, which is essentially where we are now. now. We're at the drawing board. You are part of our canvas, and we are kind of at this point now where we're like, okay, we think we have, is that a 3 or a 0?
It's a 3 with a 0 on the back.
So we think we're at this point where we have a good idea with the idea of a complex adaptive leadership survey. We're not certain that we have really fleshed out the themes and the questions of this properly. And so our dreams and hopes of getting rich are delayed for probably several years while we figure this out. We figure we have some bright people in the room who may want to collaborate with us because perhaps, I know for instance, Gary, you're very involved in complex adaptive leadership. You've recently been within the theory, so perhaps there's some opportunities there. And I think that's kind of, yeah, I mean, you don't really normally come to a conference and tell people that you broke your stuff. I mean, Abigail, your stuff was solid, very impressive. But, we're here, we're bearing our souls here, we're telling you that we broke it, we're looking for some collaboration to, work with some folks to fix it. We've got a pretty good basis, and I think that's where we are. So any questions?
2 quick questions. One is, what kind of rotation do you use? And the reason why I ask this is, if your components are likely to be related together, then you probably can't use Varimax and need to use Promax. So what do you use?
Yeah. So SPSS, everybody understand the question or hear the question? Which rotation did we use? For both that you saw here, we used Promax. Okay. So it's a principal component with Promax rotation. But don't think I didn't try every single button in SPSS.
And the second question is for exploratory factor analysis, you need a sample of around like 150. So what are your plans around how to get that larger sample?
Yes. So again, one of the things that we're looking to do is find larger organizations, and once we get our survey, so the reason for the pilot was really to see if we kind of had a reasonable design where we could then flesh it out to a larger organization. Obviously 30 and 40 was not large enough, so the idea is to find a large organization, which we would be happy to entertain organizations.
So Daryl,
Boeing here?
Yes,
Yes, Boeing would be perfect.
if they'd let you do it.
They
watch me very closely.
I know, I heard buzzer, but just really fast. So one of the problems is because we're doing organizations, we can't just say, hey, everybody in this room, go take our survey. So we actually need people from one organization, one unit, to actually take our survey. And then the other problem is are they answering the questions based on their unit, like if we did it in the College of Business, or are they answering it for the greater university, like Embry-Riddle? So those are 2 of the problems that we're having. We did have what we have. That we have, yes. And finding a sample, we kind of still do. The other thing I'll mention is we did have another company, but then Hurricane Matthew, which we talked about, kind of messed that up. So yeah, we need help.
All righty.